Well, good afternoon, everybody. We're glad you're here. We truly appreciate citizen involvement and appreciate the fact that you're here to listen about this potential project. I'm Norman Bickle, City Manager. I know a lot of people in the room. Glad you're here, and I am not the expert on this matter. You will be hearing from me momentarily. We have an opportunity to partner with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation on a project sometime in the future. It's not a specific date for it, and that is the reason for this meeting today, is to explain it and what could happen. So I'm going to let the experts take over this.
Okay. I'll take it. Just for some format of what the kind of the plan is for this evening. We've got a short presentation. My name is Russell Beatty. I'm the project engineer for Olson Associates. We've been working with the city on this project. And Jennifer Caselny is here. She is really on the environmental side, answers the environmental expert for the project. So we're the two that will be presenting the presentation for this evening. We're going to do a short presentation, and then from the presentation, really we want to open it up to the boards. And so we've got two different stations, essentially, with two maps at each board. One map shows basically all the different alternates that we have looked at and studied as part of the project. The other alternate shows what has come out as the preferred alternate based upon some of our meetings that we've had. And so each table, or the two sets of tables, have the same maps, but there's two different maps. And so Jennifer will be kind of at the back table, I'll be at the front table. And so if you have questions, comments, definitely there's comment cards. We want to get all of your feedback. It's really why we're here. We want to get your input. And so we're going to open up. So I'm not going to really have a formal question and answer period, but we are available. We have other engineers here that can also help answer questions. We want to make sure we get all of your comments addressed, and we'll stay as long as we need to help answer your questions. So just kind of up front, that's kind of where we're headed this evening. I'll go ahead and get us started off. This is the public meeting for the Airport Industrial Road Reconstruction and Widening. The purpose of the meeting is to present the project need, the proposed design, and the environmental issues associated with the improvements. The Airport Industrial Road, the extents are from Lakeview up around the airport to Washington, and really the purpose of the meeting is to get your input on this project. The purpose of the project itself is to improve the safety and the access to the airport. So some of the existing conditions, the project itself, the alignment, the roadway is all really located within the Stillwater Airport Trust land. The south part of the road itself is actually located within the runway protection zone, the RPZ, of the runway itself. It's located west and north of Sanborn Lake. There's no impact to the cabin at all as part of this project. Also west of the University Estates neighborhood. It's a 2-lane road. Existing roads are 11-foot lanes with about a 1 foot of shoulder on either side. Posted speed anywhere from 30 to 25 miles per hour with an average daily traffic about 2015 measured to be about 1,700 vehicles per day. Some of the deficiencies of the existing road include sharp curves. Past accidents have necessitated the guardrail that exists out there today. Pedestrian access to the airport. The pedestrians that own the parking, pedestrians walking across this roadway, and then limited parking for the airport itself. The airport, with the expanded service that happened in summer of 2016, the 2 commercial flights per day has generated more traffic along this corridor, and also the plan for a future expansion of the airport itself. And kind of with that, I'm going to let Jennifer talk about some of the environmental constraints associated with this project.
Great. Thank you, Russell. Now, please keep in mind when we're talking about NEPA or the National Environmental Policy Act, this is an entire course at OSU, and I'm only going to talk about this for maybe 5-10 minutes at the most to keep it as brief as possible. But, you know, briefly, as you can read here, it's NEPA, what the purpose is to balance the economic, social, environmental impacts on a proposed project. And NEPA is only used for federally funded projects that they have to go through this process. For this project, that would be the Federal Highway Administration. So we go through their NEPA process, which a lot of different federal agencies have their own NEPA processes that they go through. But really what we're trying to do is identify potential impacts and obviously either try to avoid them, minimize those, and if we can't do that, then mitigate those potential impacts. Oh, I went the wrong way. Just very briefly, some of the major components of the NEPA process is engaging the public, which is why we're here tonight. And I know that there's comment cards in the back, and I really do encourage you guys to fill those out and provide those to us either tonight or send them in and send them to the city, send them to us so we can get your comments. One of the other things we do is we solicit comments from other state and local and federal agencies, and we're receiving those comments now. We do environmental studies, and we do that in a variety of different ways. For this project, what we've done so far is looked at some of the existing data out there. We look at different databases, we make pretty maps to identify what the impacts are. Once we identify what the preferred alignment is, we will then go back and do detailed environmental studies, basically boots on the ground to identify, you know, say wetlands, cultural resources, to make sure there is no impact that we may have missed through the database studies. And the other thing I want to mention is besides NEPA, there are also, because it's a federally funded project, other US DOT regulations that are called Section 6F and Section 4F. And I'm going to talk about those in more detail in a minute. So when we're doing the NEPA studies, one of the things we've looked at so far is what we call Section 106, which is really cultural resources. We've done a desktop study, and for this entire project area, we haven't identified any significant cultural resources. We also look for endangered species, and we coordinate with the Fish and Wildlife Service. And for Payne County and for this area, I don't think we'll have any significant issues to endangered species. One of the bigger ones, whoops, where'd I go? Would be the streams and wetlands. We have identified some wetlands out here, and we do have several stream crossings. How come I keep going backwards? Another thing we like to look at, because it can be a cost issue during construction, is potential hazardous waste sites. There are a couple potential issues in this project area. One is lead contamination from a former shooting range. Apparently that has been cleaned up by DEQ, but that's something we're going to get some further information on. And then the other thing is the possibility that there was a former landfill out in this area somewhere that we're doing the study on. We also look at things, golly, like relocations, prime farmland. I'm just kind of listed some of the other issues that we typically look at. And one of the bigger ones, you know, as citizens might be worried about, would be noise impacts. So if we add capacity to a highway and go from 2 to 4 lanes, we will be doing a noise study once we identify the preferred alignment for this project. Now I'm going to talk about the two fun ones for this project. The first being Section 106. That is a DOT law that says if you're using federal funds, they really don't want you to use them and go into lands that are historic, that are parks, that are refuges, that are basic recreational facilities. Obviously out here we have the existing Sanborn Lake and Parks complex and your recreational facility. So Section 6F is a law that is from the Land and Water Conservation Funds that says if you've used these monies, which is given out to different cities and communities, If you go through and take that resource out, you have to replace that resource in kind. So on this project, the city has in the past used land and water conservation funds for the building of that baseball park. So if we were to go through that baseball park with an alignment, the city would need to relocate that baseball park in another location. This is a separate act from NEPA. It is something that the city can do anytime they want to, and isn't exclusive to a roadway project. It's exclusive to using land and water conservation funds. Some more details about 4F. It's a very stringent law. It's probably one of the more stringent and has the most teeth of even over NEPA, because what it says is you must find a feasible and prudent alternative if possible, rather than going through the recreational resource. So if we do go through a recreational resource on this project, we will have to go through that 4F process and get approval from FHWA. It is something that is commonly done. A lot of times there's a lot of parks and things along roadways, and we have a de minimis process that we go through with FHWA and the local agency in order to get those approvals. So it is something that's possible. Okay, here's the map, which you'll see over here in a minute. And you guys live here, so you probably know where the ballpark is. The thing is that the city owns the majority of the undeveloped parcel, and they're going through a process now of trying to determine what they're going to consider their recreational use versus what is just land owned by the airport, which is thus owned by the city. And so we're still trying to get that final determination from the city on what that is. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Russell.
Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the improvements and what the improvements are planned. So what is being planned for this new alignment for the arterial road is a 4-lane road that has curb and gutter. In addition, it will have a multi-purpose sidewalk, one of the wide sidewalks that have been going across town in lots of places. Multi-purpose sidewalk that would be located predominantly really on the east side. That, in order to improve the airport access, improve the roadway curves.
Can't be on the east side.
It can't be on the east side.
That road runs east and west. It has to be on the north or the south.
It's the east and south.
Yeah, east and south.
Okay.
South we got, okay?
Okay, yeah. For the improve the airport access, improve the roadway curves, and improve the pedestrian access. So what we've done is we've developed several different alternatives. We'll walk through kind of the alternatives that we've developed and then how we got to the preferred alignment. So really the first alternative we looked at was staying on the existing alignment as much as possible. And so what you see here is basically the same alignment as what's there, except it's a 4-lane road. The main difference is in the area around the airport. This was a one-way operation that could be looped. The advantages of this alternate was it was the least amount of impact to the ball fields and to the park area. Disadvantages to this is it really didn't help safety from the standpoint of improving the curves. The one-way operations are also not as common. It does not really separate the through traffic coming through here from the airport traffic, and so a lot of reasons this one was not necessarily chosen. And so what we went from this alternate, so we developed then a second alternate. I'll kind of show you, kind of flip back and forth so you can kind of see what the difference is. So the green alignment here, so what this alignment does is this is an alignment that takes the through road and separates it out from the airport traffic. So the through traffic is now separated from airport. Improves safety. The disadvantages of this is it does impact 2 of the ball fields. And these ball fields right here are the ball fields that use the 6F money that Jennifer was speaking about earlier. And so those 3 ball fields are that fund. The blue crosshatch are the areas that have been identified as possible wetlands. And part of the NEPA studies would really delineate that. And so this alignment moved the through traffic further away from the airport, but tried to stay out of the wetland impact and further away from the park. This was the second alternate. The third alternate, we tried to get further away from the ball fields. And so in this alternate, really to the south and to the east, they pretty much the same. But this alternate, as you can see, it moves further away from the airport, but now starts impacting some of the wetland area. But an advantage to this one is that we were only then touching one of the ball fields of the 3 that were there. But it did still separate the traffic from the through traffic from the airport traffic and increase the safety. It also, between 2 and 3, if you can see these 2 curves, they're still fairly tight curves here as part of 2. When you go to 3, those curves are flattened out a little bit. And so it makes it a more gentler curves for driving through the alignment. And so this graphic really shows how all 3 of them are laid across each other. And you can tell kind of how we migrated from the airport to go as far out as we could. We had a meeting back in late fall, early winter, sometime in the winter, I think. I can't remember the exact date. We had a meeting with the city, with ODOT, with us, the airport, and really went through a lot of these alignments and looking at trying to figure out what our preferred alignment would be. Looking at pros and cons of each one of them. And from that meeting, another alternate came about. And so we've called that alternate 3A, and that's the orange alignment that you'll see here on the boards. But it's in orange. I know it's going to be difficult to see back there. But basically, it kind of runs kind of right in here and almost splits, is almost the average of the other alternate 2 and our alternate 3. So with alternate 3A, the advantages of alternate 3A was it still separates the through traffic just coming from Washington to Lakeview from the airport traffic, improving the safety of the pedestrians of the airport. It still minimized, it does minimize the impact to the wetlands. It also only impacted one of the ball fields. Now that's an advantage and also shown as a disadvantage because we're still impacting one of the ball fields. But as far as the severity of the impact, it's a little bit of both. And then it improved the roadway curves. So this was a much smoother curve coming around. So from a standpoint of traffic moving, it was a safer alternate as far as traffic is concerned. And so this really became out of the preferred alternate that is being preferred and being put to move forward for the NEPA studies. So kind of where we're at today, we've done, Jennifer mentioned the data reconnaissance report, and then the study that we did to get to the meeting. And so today we're at the public participation, where we want your comments on what has been done so we can find out, are there more things out here we need to know about? What are your comments? What do you like? What do you not like? We want to hear both. So from this meeting, what will happen is the comments, we'll get the comments, and there'll be it's about a 2-week period that we'll receive comments. Those comments will then be incorporated into design so that then we can move forward with making sure we get the study the right alignment of what we're wanting to do. So the next phase is going to be the NEPA project on the preferred alignment. There will be an FAA approval since the south part of the project does go through the runway protection zone. So there will be approval through FAA, and then design plans and construction. And those are still to be determined of when those would take place. So definitely want to get your comments. So we want to know what you have to say about the corridor. If you have concerns, I know there's some concerns about sound and lights and noise. please make those comments so those are recorded in part of this process. And let us know what those things are so we know. There are a few different ways you can leave. You can leave the comments here tonight with us. Or if you want to take some time to think it over, you can mail them in to the City of Stillwater, or you can email comments to Glenda at the City of Stillwater as well. And so kind of with that, I'll conclude the presentation portion, and then we'll make ourselves available. Myself, Jennifer, Colby, and Caroline, all of us have kind of been a part of this project. If you have questions, we will do our best to answer questions for you. Thank you all for coming, and look forward to speaking with you.
Can I ask a general question?
Sure.
Before you break up? Your presentations and charts here all have 4-lane.
Yes.
Why didn't some of your possibilities include a 2-lane the way it is now?
The 4-lane was the initial, because of the future impact and tying in with the roads to the south, added traffic. A 4-lane is the, and I believe it's also an arterial, is what's being proposed. A 4-lane was the width of the road that had been requested to go forward with the design process.
So your study didn't consider leaving it a 2-lane? You didn't study that?
We didn't study a 2-lane road.
Please record those comments.
Yes.
You want them in writing?
Yes.
There was just a question.
Yeah, but definitely, if you have issues with any of that, please write them down. We want to hear all of that.